In this particular session, what we're going to look is mainly loops. Loops are nothing but ways to do things in a repeated fashion. For example, if you want to print hello world 100 times, we can use loops. We will see that program shortly. Before we get into loops, I would like to look at one particular slide which stresses the importance of nesting in data structures we have learned, which is dictionary and list or array. So we have seen this list of list or array of array all are same. We can have any number of nesting. So this is called nesting. Whenever something is inside, which is very, very common in programming, it is common in real world as well. We will call it nesting. List of list of dictionaries with values as arrays. It's all very, very common, and we will see it always in programming, in all programming languages. The reason why it is very common is that's our real world. For example, if we take the analogy of a human body or anything for that matter, body has head, which has a value, which is another key. Say for example, it is a dictionary again, which has eyes, lips, nose, then the body has other things like hands, legs, etc. Now if we consider the eye is an array, which is I1 and I2, or left, right, eyes. Same with hands, HL, which is the left hand, HR, which is the right hand. This is an array, this is a dictionary, and the whole thing is a dictionary. So it's like a small Python representation of the body parts if you look at it. So this is a typical real world example of a nested data structure or nested representation of a real world thing. So I wanted to stress the concept of nesting. You will see it a lot, and that is one of the things which complicates programming. And I will help you, or I will tell you how to reduce the complexity when it comes to nesting. But that is definitely one of the things which tease your brain in the ongoing programming exercises we are going to do. Being said that, let's get into the loops, one of the very important topics in programming. Loops are present in all programming languages, just like everything else we are discussing. Loops allow us to create programs which does repeated things, like I mentioned. Again, as usual, let's start with code, and then we will get into some theory. Let's see how loops looks like in the Visual Studio Code. So this is a program which has loops. In fact, there are 3 loops in this program. We are going to focus on line number 2, 3, and 4 for the start. In this particular program, line number 2 is familiar and something we already seen. It is a list of strings. So these are different strings inside this particular list, line number 2. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. And what we are doing is we are using something called for loop to print. Now, what we need to pay attention here is the line number 3. So there are new keywords coming up. One is for, another is in. So there are 2 keywords here. After for, there is a variable name. So this is a variable name. And what is inside that variable? One item at a time, which is there in this particular list. So this is also called iterating through the list. So we are taking one thing at a time from this particular list and doing something. So let's pay a little attention to the syntax, kind of similar to the if. After for, there is a variable, then in, then the list, then there is a colon right here, and then there is a space right here. So this space is very important, and then we are doing what we want inside the loop. This is a line which is getting repeated. This is a line which is looping, line number 4. Why? Because that is the line which has a space in here. So if I have a print here, that is not going to loop. So if I have a print there, line number 5 is not part of this loop. But if I put a space here, which is exactly equal to the number of space for this print, this will also loop. This will become part of the loop. But if I remove it, it will not be part of the loop, even if it is in the just next line. Doesn't matter. So we'll see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint at line number 3 and going to run, start debugging. So here, this is no surprise. If you have any question on this particular line, line number 2, feel free to rewatch some of the earlier presentations. So it is explained there. So it's a list. List is nothing but a bag which stores similar items. In this case, it's a list of string and we have 4 strings inside that list. Now what we are going to do is we are going to iterate through the list, and we have a for loop here. This is a for loop, and we are going to use that for loop to print each item in the list. So there is a new variable has been introduced to take each item from the list here, and that each item will come inside this variable. I'm going to press F10 and the value of F has become apple, which is the first item. Now it is going to print the apple, the value. So it is printed right here, and I'm going to execute it again. As you can see, it is repeating. It is not going down. So this is the first time we are seeing such a behavior from anything. It is not going to line number 5 or any subsequent lines. Why? Because it knows this particular list has more elements inside it after this. So it will keep repeating until all this is done. So let's see that. Keep going. Now it is mango, grapes. So all the items are printed in the exact same order: apple, orange, mango. Now, as you can see, the execution has come here. The execution has reached at line number 5 after finishing all the elements. Till then, it was looping 3 and 4, line number 3 and 4. So that is called a loop in programming. Doing things, which is this case, line number 4, repeated fashion. So this is a repeated thing it is doing. Now it doesn't need F. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here, stop debugging, and I'm going to do this. I added some space to the hello world. Now let's see what happens. I don't need this F for looping. Another additional line I have added to the loop. So the space is exactly same for both the statement. Now this will be part of the loop as well. This was not looping before. Line number 5 was not part of the loop before. Now I have added space and now it's going to be part of the loop. I'm going to start debugging. As you can see here, now it is executing hello world after each iteration. So one iteration is the execution of line number 4 and 5. We are iterating through this list. For each iteration, it's going to print hello world because the hello world line is part of the loop now. Like that, you can have any number of statements or lines inside the loop. We'll see that shortly. We can have loops inside loop. We can have if conditions, else, everything inside loop, just like we can have if inside if. Any number of nesting is possible. Now let me show you one more thing. I'm going to stop debugging. If I remove this F also, this works. Just that it'll print line number 4 times and it just moves on. As you can see, it printed hello world 4 times and it came out of the loop. So this F is not a mandatory thing to be used inside the loop. It is needed here, but it is not mandatory here. This F can be anything. I have given a totally different variable name here. Let me restart everything. No change in the program. And whatever you are using there, you have to give here if you want to print that object. If it is F, you have to give F here because it's just like any other variable. So let me put the breakpoint here so that we can see the output. As you can see, it is printed again the previous output. This time it is after the hello world. So feel free to play around this, adding more statements, probably adding more elements, removing elements, etc. Now, line number 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9 is nothing but loop in a different format or another way to do looping. This is a very useful kind of looping in which you are getting a range. So in this case, it starts from 0 to 10. Let's see that. Once you see the output, it will be very clear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the whole thing. As you can see, it has printed from 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's see how that happened. So if I add this thing to the watch, we can see that there is a start, step, and stop. So it is pretty much giving input to the 4, starting from this number, and this is the increment, which is 1 default, and stop. So this will stop just before 10. So it will not give 10 inside the loop. So that's why we don't have 10, but we have only till 9. But this is 10 numbers. As you can see, 0 is included and it is printing just like before. So the syntax is very similar for then the counter, which is n in this case. It can be any variable, just like this. It can be any variable name, valid variable name. Then in, just like in the case of here. And there is a function call comes here, range, and then the limit. Don't forget this bracket, this function called bracket, and there is a comma here. You can change the step as well if you want with the range function. Not something we are doing here, but if you want, you can try. For example, you can mention step 2 so that it'll jump 2 at a time and it'll print 0, 2, 4, etc. But overall, this is just very similar to this. All we need to know is that it is just printing the numbers as per this range.